Okay.
I'm not sure how to start this statement I'm making on behalf of myself and our two children today, who aren't old enough to speak for themselves yet. I guess I'll start by saying this. The children I share with Mr. Oakwood were no accident. We had planned hand in hand to have a family that he has left behind due to his inability to hold himself accountable for his actions without.
All right, so we're on the record in docket 24-02805. That is people of the state of Michigan versus Joseph Paul Oakwood. Would the parties please introduce themselves for the record? Ms. Wilson.
Abigail Wilson for the people.
Mr. Lee.
Assistant Public Defender John Lee on behalf of Joseph Oakwood.
And sir, you are Joseph Oakwood, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. This is the time set for sentencing in the matter. Ms. Wilson, is there any restitution on this file?
There is not, Your Honor. However, the victim is interested in making a statement through our victim advocate who is present here today.
All right. And the victim is
Jane Bogenauer.
she's online.
Yes, she's on Zoom.
All right, and then the statement will be made through the victim advocate. Is that
Yep.
correct? All right.
Whenever the court's
All right.
ready. Yep.
And Mr. Lee, did you have the opportunity to go through the pre-sentence report with Mr. Oakwood?
I did, Your Honor.
Any additions, deletions, or corrections?
No additions, deletions, or corrections.
Okay, allocution of Mr. Lee.
Thank you, Your Honor. We would ask the court to consider that Mr. Oakwood has cooperated throughout this process. He, in fact, the interviewer in the pre-sentence investigation report noted that he was honest and sincere and took responsibility for what happened on this particular occasion. Mr. Oakwood is currently working full-time at Amazon and continues to be a father to the two children that are part of this relationship. He would ask that the court, if there is any no contact orders in place with the children, that the court amend that and allow contact and perhaps third-party contact with the mother to arrange for visitation, as that is something that is near and dear to his heart. Understanding. We think that the probation recommendations are on point. We would ask the court to adopt them, including the 769.4A status.
Thank you. On behalf of Ms. Bogenauer, any comment from on behalf of the victim? And ma'am, please state your first name and last name for the record.
Jacqueline Ward,
Okay, and you should spell those just so we get them right.
JACQUELYN WARD.
All right, you may proceed, Ms. Ward.
I received this statement from the victim last week, and I'll be reading it for her. She's on Zoom.
Okay.
I'm not sure how to start this statement I'm making on behalf of myself and our two children today, who aren't old enough to speak for themselves yet. I guess I'll start by saying this. The children I share with Mr. Oakwood were no accident. We had planned hand in hand to have a family that he has left behind due to his inability to hold himself accountable for his actions without manipulating everyone around him to think the mother of his children is what put him in the position he's in today. The truth is, I am not perfect, nor have I ever claimed to be. The difference between myself and Mr. Oakwood is that I can take accountability and be honest with myself. I am able to see my flaws and try to grow better and be a better version of myself. I can allow myself to be vulnerable. I have asked Mr. Oakwood for years to seek therapy and to get back on medications he so badly needs. After a traumatic car accident we were both in, it has affected him more than it did myself, and I knew that. I've always been sensitive about that for him. It has altered his life forever in more ways than one. However, he has a history of commitment, abandonment, and abusive issues and habits in every imaginable way, and it started prior to his life with me. He came into my life with promises he had no intentions of keeping, playing on my abandonment issues and PTSD from other traumatic experiences. I was open with him about the first month we met. He hasn't even acknowledged our children since I called 911 when he assaulted me, nearly leaving me unconscious. Pieces of my hair and scalp everywhere, bloody and blue, body and face. Tomorrow would have been our 3-year anniversary. I never thought this is how we would be spending it. I have cried myself to sleep many nights since the assault. So have our children. Our children have regressed once again because of his actions. I can't even leave the room without our son screaming and crying and running after me because he's so scared another parent might be gone forever. My children no longer sleep through the night. They're confused and God knows what else. He left me with a lease we're both on until February. Foster animals, every utility bill, rent, food, and so much more, and he couldn't be less concerned. I have been scrambling to borrow money, take out loans, and keep my head above water and manage everything myself as a disabled woman who is now alone. Mr. Oakwood stole my debit card, my EBT card, my WIC card, and even went so far as to take my work key for the only job I had in walking distance for spare cash I needed throughout this time. I'm leaving home, and after weeks of begging for my personal items back, Mr. Oakwood decided when I was allowed to have them back, leaving the items outside for anyone to steal in the middle of the night with no warning when he felt like doing so. He also had the nerve to sit here in court at the last hearing and let his attorney lie on his behalf and tell the court on the record that I had shown up to his house, which is impossible since I don't drive. And at that time, he was still holding my kids' car seats hostage, so we had no way of leaving our home and still rarely do. He doesn't think of anyone else has feelings, boundaries, and deserves respect the way that he does and shows. Everything is always on his terms and time. Today, I'm asking you that you do not simply slap him on the wrist for his first offense. This was just the first time I finally had the nerve to report it, because I know our kids are getting older and I refuse to let them grow up in a toxic environment where there is violence and yelling every day. I am asking the court to consider the weeks of battery prevention classes that are in person, parenting classes, anger management classes, and drug and alcohol testing while he's on his probation. Everything has always seemed like a joke to Mr. Oakwood, and I am in no way trying to seek vengeance on this man that gave me a family and was once the love of my life. I am hoping with these conditions, he takes a deeper look into himself and really does some soul searching. I know he's capable of being better. I think he's gotten comfortable doing the opposite for so long as he is the side of his friends and family believes he's done nothing wrong. I hope one day I can trust him to be around our children again, but I need him to prove himself to us, the family he abused and left behind, if he ever wants to be in our children's life again. I'm sorry this is how our anniversary was spent. Are you? I'm sorry you missed your son's first steps and your daughter's second birthday. Are you? Even if you never want to see us again, you need to be held accountable for once and not be let off the hook so lightly, so this pattern of abuse ends with us. No one deserves what we have endured. I also wanted to ask that he hand the pistol into authority and not simply with a friend or family he's living with. That in no way makes me feel safe or ensures he will not get it in his hands. Thank you for taking the time to listen to the statement today.
In regards to the contact with the children, there's right now, there's a no contact with Jane Vogenauer, or to be within 2,000 feet where the victim lives, works, goes to school. There's nothing in relation to the children, Ms. Wilson.
That's correct, Your Honor. It's my understanding that there's a family court process ongoing right now. At this time, I would request that there be some kind of order from the family court regarding parenting time. And before we allow third-party contact for the purposes of the children, just so everybody's bases are covered and there's some kind of court order that states when and where parenting time is going to happen. Otherwise, I feel like we're just going to run into an issue.
So it would be the practice of the court to follow any orders that are put down in regards to visitation from family court. All right. Mr. Lee, anything in response?
I completely agree, Your Honor. The family court is the best place to resolve those types of issues. There is not, I think the court just noted a no contact order in place with the children. This was an incident between the adults. And so that's the reason we asked for the third party. If the court doesn't want to grant a third party, we understand. We would just ask then that it not add a no contact order and let the family court resolve it.
I'm gonna leave it to the family court as far as any third-party contact with the children. But you have a no contact order with the victim, and until they get that all worked out in family court, I would suspect that it's no contact with the minor children until third-party contact is arranged or something along those lines. But I'm gonna follow it as a domestic violence case and not going to invade the province of the family court. Mr. Oakwood, is there anything you'd like to say to the court before the court passes sentence?
I got no comment.
Okay. All right. It appears that there was a kilogram of no upfront jail that I will follow. There was a no objection for 769 for a status that I will also follow. This is for the guilty plea on October 10th, 2024 in regards to domestic violence. It is determined by the court that you spend 93 days in jail, credits given for 2 days previously served. So suspend the following 91 days upon successful completion of probation. All right, so I'm changing that just because there's a typo. There's also a typo on your name, but we can address that. Fines and costs. We'll make the $200 fine, $200 costs. Crime victims' rights fee of $75. State minimum cost fee of $50. I'm placing you on probation for 9 months at $30 a month. So that would be 30 times 9 equals 270. I'll give you a grand total. That's 400 plus 75 plus 50 plus 270. So that's a total of $795. Your 769 4A is granted at this point in time with the successful completions of the 9 months probation. No contact with the victim, Jane Bogenauer, or be within 2,000 feet of where the victim lives, works, goes to school with consent, without consent of this court. And then that can be modified once the family court figures out their third-party notification. But that is the typical sentence for no contact order in DV concerning a domestic violence. No assaultive or threatening behavior, no use of possession of alcohol, marijuana, or controlled substance without a prescription, no bars or nightclubs. I'm going to complete following rehabilitative services, pay fees, and provide proof of completion of the court. You should, at the request of your probation agent, the domestic abuse rehabilitative services class, whatever class they recommend, and the anger management group is also part of the 9 months completion of the court. Not purchase or possess firearms, ammunitions, or weapons of any kind, and then follow any family court orders that are set down in relation to this file. So it's 9 months probation. I can tell you what usually violates people's probation, and that's they test or drop dirty. I'm going to be placing considerable amount of attention to whether and when you timely complete the domestic abuse and anger management training. Okay, those I think can be very helpful. Okay, if you're able to do that, then I can see that things are starting to turn around a little bit. All right. Anything towards the judgment of sentence, Ms. Wilson?
A couple things, Your Honor, in regards to the firearms. I know that Mr. Oakwood currently has a pistol that is registered to him. Is the court ordering that be turned over to law enforcement for the duration of the probation? Or what do we want to do with that?
He has to turn it over to somebody who won't turn it back to him.
Okay.
Okay. The order of the court is not purchase, possess firearms, ammunitions, or weapons of any kind. And so I would think that has to be immediate, but it can't be returned to him under the conditions of probation. So for the next 9 months.
Okay.
I don't think that, I think that can, that places whoever he puts it in the possession of to be responsible for your conduct, which means that if you do something assaultive in relation to that, they're also placed in a position that they can also look at that and be charged with that. So, so you want to make sure that it's not in your possession, given to somebody who keeps it from you for 9 months, or you put yourself at issue. Okay?
It's not going to be an issue.
Okay. All right. Just as long as you know, everyone says that. So let's just let's just keep it, yeah, that's exactly what everybody says.
Thank you.
And I just want to make sure I want to make sure that everybody's safe and gets to go home, okay? All right, so for 9 months, that goes to someone else. After probation, I don't have jurisdiction.
Yep.
Anything else?
Just for clarity purposes, I think there may be an order from the family court in place right now, but I don't have it. So if there is currently parenting time ordered, then that order would need to be supplied to probation.
Yeah, and I think probation should be caught up on any type of, because what's going to happen is there may be third-party contact in relation to Ms. Vogenauer, and that should be deemed by the family court. This no contact order is ongoing unless that's superseded by the family court on some level. Okay.
Can I speak?
You can?
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, so I was recently awarded full sole custody of both children until he finishes his parenting classes.
All right. Well, if that's the order of the family court, that's the order that we follow.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the order of the court was to follow all and any family court orders.
Okay.
So now that may change depending on what the family court does. And so, but you still are under a no contact order and no third party contact unless the family court orders it, then you may be reached. But as far as this file goes, the defendant shouldn't be having any contact with you.
Okay.
All right. Turn over firearm to another person for the sole of the 9 months in probation, and it shouldn't be returned during the probationary term. Those are the 9 months I've placed. Anything else towards the record in docket 2402805, Mr. Lee?
Just to be clear, Your Honor, did you sentence him to 9 months probation or 6?
9.
Okay.
Yeah, 9.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
I added 3 months in order for the somewhat to make it easier to complete anger management and the added domestic abuse. I've put 2, and then there is the terms of probation. But most of all, family court's going to have its own orders, and we want to make sure that that's all covered. Not only an extension. This court, we only have, as you know, we only have jurisdiction over the domestic violence, and I think this goes a little further than that with the children and what have you. Mr. Oakwood, do you have any questions concerning the judgment of sentence of the court?
No questions.
All right. Go down and see your probation. I don't know who your probation officer is. I don't know who wrote the report. I can look here.
I think it was Mr. Hannah.
So is Brendan Hanna. I know Mr. Hanna. Mr. Hanna is a pretty flexible person. He's easy to work with. So Mr. Hanna starts coming to me with probation violations. Something's not gone right. Okay, something's not gone right because he's pretty easy to get along with. So for the next 9 months, Mr. Oakwood, I'm not worried about you for the next 9 months. I know where you're going to be. All right, and I also know that if you don't do what you're supposed to, we're going to put you in jail. Okay, it's a horrible concept. It's not one that anybody learns from, but it's a concept we have. Okay, what I'm worried about and what I'm really reaching for is the next 5 years from now, where you're making independent decisions, and they all have to be effective and good decisions. Mostly because you're a parent. All right, so take this process to learn from this process. Okay, if you don't, then we're back here 5 years from now. And we're going through the same thing with children 5 years older, and we are really looking at limiting our options at that point. Okay, so for all our sakes, including yours, learn from this. Okay, learn from this arena. All right, you should go down and see Mr. Han on the 5th floor just to make sure you're on the same page, and then and he's the one who will be talking to me. All right. All right. Anything else for the record, Mr. Oakwood?
Nothing. So hope you have a good day.
All right. Right. That's all for the record in 2402805. Thank you, everybody, for your appearance today.
Thank you.